Hello, I'm Professor Matthew Rotella, and today I'm going to be making a screw to demonstrate another unique way that you can use a primitive to make a very useful and common object, as well as to demonstrate how you can use the Multicut tool, and then just other ways that you can sort of manipulate things and use very common tools in sort of oddball ways. So we want to make sure that it has, like that we have a screw that has the threading that we want and all the stuff like that. So anyway, we're going to start with a helix. I'm going to go in and just change up its properties. I'm going to give it a height of 12. I'm going to give it 12 coils. And I'm going to give it 12 subdivisions. And then I just want to make this this radius a little bit thinner. I think 0.2 will probably do her. And finally, I want to have just 3 subdivisions in the axis. And now you can see I have this lining up with this. And now we're going to go ahead and start forming this into a screw from this singular coil. Basically, we're going to use these bottom edges to form the base of the coil. So I'm going to select all of these interfaces, like so. And then, now if I just double click this edge, it's going to select the whole thing. And I'm going to just do one bridge from which I can go up to edit mesh, bridge, and I can check my my divisions. I want 0, and I'll hit bridge. And I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom, and you're going to see a lot of, now I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom, and bridge. So I'm going to do basically the same thing to the top as I do to the bottom as I go along a lot. And now, double click in here so it selects all of these inner edges. I'll deselect these edges where I did the bridging, and then I'll hit bridge, and now I have all of this. And you can see pretty clearly now, I'd imagine, that how this will become a screw. Alright, so next up, what I want to do is I'm going to select all these top edges. I just double click, select all of them. I'm going to deselect this one, this one, this one, and this one. Those 4 edges are now deselected. And now I'm going to hit extrude. I'm going to press W to switch to my basic move manipulator. And then I'm going to scale this infinitely inwards to make that nice and flat. And now I'm going to extrude it one more time. Alright, and now I'm going to bridge it. And if you're not following me here, don't panic, because I'm going to do it again on the bottom. And double click so that all these edges are selected. I'm going to go up to mesh, and then hit fill hole. And now I'm going to make it, and now I'm going to use my multicut tool so I can turn this into a quad face. So I can go into vertex selection mode. Now my multicut tool can be found here under my mesh tools, and it can also be found right up here. And I'm going to wait until my cursor has the little dot under the knife, the little square dot, and then so that I know I'm selecting the vertice, and then cut here, and cut here. And now switch back to my selection tool, and you can see that I have a 1, 2, 3, 4 sided polygon. And now I'm still working in all quads, which is lovely. And now I'm going to do the same exact thing on the bottom. So I'm going to go back into edge mode, double click to select all the top edges, deselect those 4, extrude, switch to my manipulator, and scale it in, extrude again, down it goes, Q, select the edge, bang, boom, bridge, and then mesh, fill hole, and now multi-cut so that I can go back to having all quad geometry again. Alright, now I want to do a few things. So first of all, I want my coil to maintain its shape, and this is going to require some tricky-dicky. My coil to maintain its shape when I go into smooth mode, like so. It is going to require some tricky-dicky deletion and multi-cutting to happen. Now, there's the rule of 3 edges, like with anything. So I can get this edge here, and you can see, actually, hold on. First of all, I'm going to go like so, all the way around, and then I can get another coil here, and another here. And you can see that I get this really weird edge loop here. Well, what I want to do is I want to get rid of this edge, and then I'm just going to connect this to this so that edge flow is right going up the spiral. And now I have these two odd edges, and now you might say to yourself, now how do you turn that into quads? Because, well, I mean, it already is quads, but we don't want edges just terminating in the middle like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch back to my selection tool and then back to my multi-cut tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click, and then click, and then click, and now you see that I have, once again, all quad geometry, because this is 1, 2, 3, 4 edges making up this quad, and then this is quads, and everything is quads, and everything is good, and we want quads, because they're just easier to work with. And now,
I didn't get that.
Oh goodness. And now we throw Siri across the room. Yeah. And now we do the same thing at the top. So we have this happening again up here. We can delete this edge, and then we use multi-cut to go bada bing, bada boom, and switch back to my selection tool, switch back to my multi-cut, and click, 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 and there we go. And you can take the time to place these vertices to make it a little neater if you want, and what have you. But next up, we're going to add another edge to the coil to make sure that that maintains its shape. So what we're going to do is we're going to double click the edge that is the spine of this, basically, and I'm going to bevel it. Just bevel, and then I want that to be a little closer together, as in a decent bit closer together. And now we have some weird geometry here. We have an n-gon, but we can use our multi-cut. Well, first of all, I'll put, before I get to the multi-cut, I'll put one more edge right in the middle there, but to make sure that it's perfectly in the middle, I'll do a little trick with the insert edge loop tool, and that's if I say multiple edge loops and then say multiple edge loops, but what if but one, and I can click anywhere in here and it will insert it perfectly into the middle. And now it's time for the multi-cut tool. I'm going to cut from here to here, and you can see that we once again have a 1, 2, 3, 4 sided polygon, and it also makes this quad face not so wonky anymore. So we're working all quads still, and now here we go. Gonna go from here to here on the bottom, and now we can basically start wrapping stuff up, making our screw head and our point. So to make my point, I don't have to extrude one more time, but I will, just to give myself a little extra geo to work with. And I'm going to merge all of these into one thing. Whoop, excuse me. I want to do vertex merging. And I want to make sure that I'm not getting anything but down here. Edit mesh and merge to center. There we go. And now I got that point down there, which we will use, and we can, we can extend that to be deeper down if we want. And now we just need to make a screw head. Well, because of the way that we constructed this from the very beginning, which because of the way we constructed this from the very beginning, you can see we have 12 going all the way around. Well, just to make sure that I stay in all quads, I can even start with a cube, and I can go ahead and say 1, 2, 3 in all directions, and it doesn't take a genius to say that 3 times 4 is 12. And now you say, but how do we make this bad boy circular? Well, we can use a tool that we're going to use somewhere else to help us out with a little bit of shaping, and that's the average vertices tool. And you know what, I can just put it to 50, and basically I can just hit average a bunch of times until I have obtained a low poly sphere, and I can just go ahead and delete the bottom of it. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, there you go. Just holding down shift, making my selection. Bada bing. Alright. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit extrude, and then I'm going to scale this inwards, and then I'm going to hit circularize. Ooh, Q, and this should be doing this in a slightly different order than I did the last time I did this. Select all these vertices here. Make them all totally level with each other. Then hit circularize, and I get a circle that I can get to match the same dimensions as what I was working with before. I can flatten this as well, and I can also circularize these, and anyway, moving along, I can go ahead and basically get my nice screw head shape, move it down, I can scale this to be roughly where I'm gonna need it to be size-wise, and I could take a few different measures to make sure that this is really precise, but just for the sake of keeping this tutorial moving, I'll leave most of the heavy-duty aligning work, so to speak, to you guys, and I'm gonna just I'm gonna zero this out over origin and scale it outwards. Oh goodness, what have I done? Forget it. Really shouldn't. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna turn on my snapping and there we go. Just align it over the origin like so. And there we go. Get it roughly placed there. And what have you. Anyway, get the two objects here, mesh, combine so that I can bridge between the two so that the edges I want to have match up. I can end up bridging those two first just to make sure that it bridges exactly how I want it. Deselect the two side edges, bridge the rest of them, and then to get that Phillips head, which you can make the head of the screw here any number of ways, but I'm just doing it this way because it gets the that plus just how I want it, and it keeps everything made out entirely out of quads, except for this little pole that I made at the bottom for the point of it. And now just do my last little bit of shaping. What I'm going to do is I'm going to average. Oh, one thing I never did was I never scaled this outwards in X and Z to keep that point going. And now I'm going to go into vertex selection mode. I'm going to average these vertices, which I have mapped to right up here, and I can hit average again, and then basically just go down the line a little bit, and that'll just smooth out the transition into the threading. And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 1. Okay. And now, last but not least, screws like taper as they get towards the bottom. What I can do is I could just use a deformer. There is a nonlinear deformer called a flare. I can make one of them, and I can adjust the you can see I can adjust this flare here. I'll say 0.3 and start flare Z also 0.3, and then we'll keep everything nice and circular. And I don't have to have it taper all the way down. That gives me more of a nail. I can just have it be like so. And well, I could raise this up even and just put it down, and then it's a little bit more like a screw would be, where it doesn't taper until the end. And then that's about it. There's your screw.